Hello, are you there? Hello. Sushmita has come in. Madan is there. Now it's. Can you hear me, Sushmita? Hello? Hello? Madan? Hello? Madan, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Ah, fine. Please be there. Sushmita, can you hear me? Sushmita? I think she's not able to hear. Who are there? Let us wait for them. It is 12:57, 3 minutes left now. Prasanna Kumar is coming. Then where's there anyone joining now? Pradeep Vijay Kumar is joining. Oh, unmute your videos. Chaitra is joining. Yes. 5 are there as of now. Prasanna, can you hear me? Prasanna? Prasanna Kumar?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. It's 1 minute left now for the class to start. I am finding only 5 students. Ashika Jain has joined. Ashika, can you hear me? Yeah, Ashika?
Yes, sir.
Right. Umesh is walking in. Umesh. Yes. Rashmi Kotehal. Umesh, am I audible? Umesh. Deepika has come in. Rachana Mandre. Where's Chandrappa Itagi? Chandrappa?
Yes, sir.
Fine. Be there. Ganesh Raikar. All are there. Ganesh Raikar. Rachana Mandre, Deepika, Rashmi, Umesh, Ashika, Chaitra, Pradeep, Sushmita, Madan, Prasanna Kumar. Rakshita Hebbar is connecting now. Rakshita, can you hear me? Hello, Rakshita?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, who is Pooja Joshi? 41. It's 1:01 p.m. now. 1 minute elapsed. Yes, Pooja Joshi is connecting. Now 15 are there. Finance students must be very fast. I don't know why they are very slow. Unmute your videos. Let me see. You are all there physically. Who else has joined now? Neha is coming. Who is this? 41. Who is MBA 41? ZZ 18 MBA 41. 41.
Me, sir, Pavitra.
Pavitra, fine, Pavitra. Okay, good. So 16 are there now. It is 1:02 p.m. I got to start the class. So make it early. I think the earlier class was closed by 12:40. Okay, that's why probably you are getting late. Bhumika Murthy has joined. Oh, yes, 70. Yeah, no. Srivani, Sharanya, who else?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you're all there. Adarsh G has joined now. Number is 20. Slowly picking up, but already 3 minutes last. 1:03. Vikas SK is connecting now. Vikas, can you hear me? Hello, Vikas. Ashwini Bhatt is joining. 22. Number is 22. Just 1/3 of the total strength. Why it is so? Rajesh 12104. Rajesh. Rajesh, are you there? Hello, Rajesh. Rajesh K. Can you hear me, Rajesh? Pranav has joined now. Yeah, fine. Okay. Pranav is there. Rajesh, Ashwini, Adarsh, Vikas, Sharanya, Srivani. Who else? 24 now. I think it is time to start the class. Pooja, can you hear me? Hello, Pooja.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, good.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Shweta has joined now. 25. Yeah. Let me take the stock of the attendance a little later in the middle of the class. Let me start the class. Let me start sharing the screen. This is where we had stopped the last class. Here we are examining strategic financial decisions. We have noted that financing decisions refer to the decisions made by a company or a corporate with respect to raising of long-term funds by issuing securities like equity and debt. And while making these strategic financial decisions, as always, the finance manager is required to take into account the likely impact of these strategic financial decisions on the value of the company. The way these financing decision is made, or the way finances or funds are raised, either by equity alone or by a mix of debt and equity, these are likely to affect the value of the company. So, as part of corporate valuation or as part of the study of the valuation of the companies, we are looking into, through this unit, we are looking into certain strategic financing decision, and we are trying to know how these decisions are likely to affect the value of the company. And in the last class, we had seen this. There are arguments and counter arguments as to whether the financing decisions or the debt equity mix or the capital structure, whether these things affect the value of the company. The celebrated authors like Modigliani and Miller, whom we popularly call MM, have made two contradictory propositions. One, according to one proposition, they say the capital structure or the debt equity mix or the decision to finance the company, decision to finance the long-term requirements of the company through a mix of debt and equity does not affect the value of the company. They say it is irrelevant whether you finance your organization, your company by a 70-30 debt equity ratio or 30-70 debt equity ratio, it is not going to matter. These decisions are irrelevant. The value of the company is independent of the financing decisions or the debt equity mix or the decision with respect to debt equity ratio or debt equity mix of the company. So we have grouped this proposition or argument under irrelevance theory. It is not relevant. Your financing decision or your debt equity mixture is not relevant in that sense, or the valuation of the company. That is what we have voted. But to be relevant, uh, hello, yeah. To be relevant, the authors have made certain assumptions. These are perfect capital market assumptions or the existence of perfect capital market. If the perfect market capital assumptions are satisfied or hold good or found to be present, then as the authors say, we can assume that the strategic financing decisions or the strategic decisions with respect to debt equity or capital structure is not going to affect the value of the firm. And as a finance manager, I can work out the value of the company independent of my capital structure or my decision, financing decision, whether I have taken in the past or whether I am currently making. But we all know that there is no such thing called perfect capital market. There are a lot of imperfections in the capital market for various factors. On account of this, there is no such thing called perfect capital market. So when the capital market is imperfect, or when the capital market has certain imperfections, then the same authors have finally admitted that the strategic financing decisions or the financing decisions as to the capital structure or debt equity mix of the firm are going to affect the value of the company. Therefore, and this is, I think this is more relevant, this argument is more realistic. Hence, what we can conclude is that a finance manager who is into the valuation of a company or into corporate valuation is required to consider, required to factor in the debt equity mix or the capital structure of a company. Capital structure decisions, which are also called as strategic financing decisions as per this curriculum, are going to matter for the value of the company. The mix of debt and equity will certainly make a difference to the value of your company. That is what we have seen. And to continue this discussion, we have seen this. There are major imperfections in the real capital market. One is the existence of corporate taxation, which makes financing through debt more helpful in increasing the value of the company, right? As corporate taxes are there, it makes sense to use more debt or use the leverage, right, to finance your long-term requirements or to have in your financing mix or capital structure to improve the shareholders' value or the value of the company. Then there are financial distress. Financial distress refers to the two things are there. One is the when you have debt in your capital structure or when you decide to raise more debt or financing your requirements, then there is what is called the debt servicing cost. What is this debt servicing? That is the periodical requirement of making the payment of interest and repayment of principal installments. This commitment will be there, this payment obligation will be there only when you have got a debt. If you don't have any debt in your capital structure or you have decided against financing your long-term requirements through debt, then there will not be any commitments or obligation on the part of your company to either to pay the interest or to pay the principal. If you finance all your long-term requirements through equity, there is absolutely no need to pay any dividend, no obligation to pay any dividend, even if you make a profit. You know this. And again, there is no question of repaying the equity. Only it is possible only when the company is liquidated. So, and because of the debt, because of the obligation, the consequent obligation to service the debt through periodical obligation to pay the interest and repay the principal installment, a company on account of poor cash flows might find it difficult to make these payments sometimes. For example, because of the lockdown and the stoppage of all businesses, many businesses are now not in a position to pay their half yearly interest falling due on June 30th or principal installment falling due on June 30th. They might not be able to pay. They might become defaulter. They might commit a default in the payment. This default has arisen on account of you having debt in your capital structure. Had you financed your operations through equity, you would not have faced this situation. But because you have decided, you had taken a decision to finance your long-term requirements through either partly or fully through debt, now you are having this commitment, and because of the stoppage of business over the last 1.5 months, which is likely to continue for another 1.5, 2 months up to June 30th, you might not be in a position to make the payments on the due date. You are going to commit a default. This is going to affect your lenders. Later, lenders may take action against you, and you might have to lose the security mortgaged to these borrowings, these debentures. Your security, your lenders, your creditors may attach your properties, right? They might bring these properties for action to realize their dues. This is a distress. This is the financial distress you are facing. You are likely to face if you finance your long-term operations through debt. So that is the issue called financial distress. And agency cost. Agency cost means the cost the company has to incur by having or on account of having debt in its capital structure. So if you have got issued debentures, the issuing costs are there. The debenture trust deed will have to be managed. The debentures or the creditors' accounts will have to be maintained, and payments have to be made periodically. Notices and reminders may have to be sent to them. Intimations may have to be sent to them. All these costs will be there if you have a debt. But if you have equity, you don't care because they are all the owners. You need not have separate costs, separate accounts, separate follow with them. But when you have borrowed money from the market through debenture, through debt, you will have to incur a lot of agency costs on account of these things. These are some of the major imperfections on account of these things. It really makes sense to the value of the company by having debt or by not having debt, by being lever or by being unlevered. So that is the concept of relevance theory of MM and the relevance theory of MM. That last bullet point about the impact of cost, you will be able to work it out through numerical problems. I am moving to the next one. Sorry, that's gone too fast. There is one more interview. So considering the tax effect is a tax shield is there if you have got debt on your capital structure, because interest paid on debt, interest paid on borrowings is tax deductible. To that extent, your profitability comes down. To that extent, your tax liability comes down. To that extent, the earning per share will improve and it will have an impact on the share value or the market value of your company or market capitalization of your company. So considering this tax effect, and on the other hand, tax effect is a benefit to the organization by having debt, whereas financial distress and agency costs are the cost of having a debt. So this benefit tax sheet versus the financial distress and agency cost. On account of this, the value of a levered firm or the firm which is having debt on its capital structure is expressed as per the following equation. The value of a levered firm or the value of a firm having debt is equal to value of a firm not having any debt. We will work out the value as if it is not having any debt, it is having only equity. And from this, we are going to deduct the present value of the costs of financial distress on account of the debt servicing obligations or commitments, and the present value of other administrative and agency expenses we are required to incur or the firm is required to incur on account of having debt in its capital structure. So by through this equation, we should be in a position to find out the value of a levered firm, and we are going to find definitely when we work out the numerical problems, we'll find out having debt is really going to matter, really going to impact or influence the value of the firm. That is the bottom line. That is what we need to understand through these discussions. Are you all there now? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Neha Kausar has joined. Who has joined now? Who else? Let me take stock of this after the next slide. Now there is another theory or another proposition with respect to strategic financial decisions and their significance in corporate valuation. What is this trade-off theory? Trade-off is always used in the context of matching or balancing. Okay? So according to trade-off theory, every firm has an optimal debt-equity ratio that maximizes its value. An organization can have only equity, but it cannot have only debt. Remember, it can have only equity or it can have a mix of debt and equity. And this ratio of debt and equity could be anything from 1% debt to 99% equity to 99% debt and 1% equity. It can range between these two extremes. Between these two extremes of debt equity ratio, there is what is called a optimum ratio, the best possible ratio, best possible mix. It might be 45 debt, 55 equity, or it might be 48 debt and 52 equity, or it might be 38 debt and 62 equity. It varies from company to company, it varies. But authors tend to suggest that there is this thing called optimum capital structure, optimum debt equity ratio, at which point the value of the firm is maximum. If anything, any changes there is there in this debt equity ratio, the firm's value will be lower on either side. This is the top. At the top, you can say if it is a U-shaped, inverted U-shaped graph, we can say at the top. That is where the debt equity ratio is optimum, and at that point, the value of the firm is maximum. At that optimal point, the tax advantage of debt. See this. This is what is called matching or trading off or balancing. On the one side, you have the advantage of debt. What is the advantage of debt? It's a tax shield. That is the plus of having debt. On the other side, the minuses. That is the financial distress cost and agency cost. These two will be perfectly balanced. If advantage of debt is neither more nor less than this one, or conversely, the cost of financial distress and agency is neither less or not more. They are perfectly balanced. At this stage, or the stage at which these two are perfectly balanced is the optimum debt equity ratio. And at this debt equity ratio, at this point, the value of the firm will be maximum. That is what this trade-off theory says. So, an organization intending to maximize its value should aim at or should try to identify this optimum debt equity ratio. At what point of debt equity mix my value will be more, my company's value will be more. And how to identify this optimum debt equity ratio? By trying to balance these two. On the one hand, you have the benefit of debt. On the other hand, you have the cost of debt. Benefit of debt is tax shield. Cost of debt is financial distress cost and agency cost. So you match them, the point at which these two are perfectly matched, because tax shield may increase if you increase the debt. Tax shield may come down if you bring down the amount of debt or the proportion of debt in your debt equity ratio. Similarly, the financial distress cost and agency cost may increase, right? If you increase the debt, it will be lower if you have smaller debt. So you have to balance these two, and there will be a point, at least hypothetically or graphically, there will be a point where these two are perfectly balanced, perfectly equal. That is the point at which the optimum debt equity ratio of the organization lies. And at this optimum debt equity ratio, the value of the firm is very high. That is what this trade-off theory says. So please know, trade-off theory, as they are in the context of strategic financial decision, tells the finance manager to try to balance the tax advantage of debt with the costs, financial distress and agency costs associated with the debt, by which you will be able to identify the optimum capital structure or debt equity ratio, and he will be able to maximize the value of his company. That is the message, that is the meaning of this trade-off theory. Hope you have followed this. Now, are you listening? Are you able to follow these things?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yeah, Chandrapa Srimant has joined. Srimant, can you hear me?
Sir.
Are you able to follow this trade-off theory?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Please refer to make a follow-up reading of the material I have sent, because here in PPT I will be having only the points. You might not be able to note everything. Now, according to signaling theory, what is this signaling? Why is this theory called signaling? Signaling means it tells what is the job of a signal, a traffic signal. When to stop, when to get ready, or when to start moving, is it not? Signals, they tell which is the direction, where to go, where to do. It is like directions. Now, there is a theory called signaling theory in the context of corporate valuation, and more specifically with reference to strategic financial decisions. According to this signaling theory, there is a pecking order of financing. What is pecking order? Pecking order is picking order. The order in which you pick up, the order in which you select. When do you select? When you have more options. If there is only one option, there is no question of selecting. You will have to accept it. Is it not? But when you have multiple options, you have to choose in which order you have to choose. Which one to choose first? Which one to choose next? Which one to choose last? This is called pecking order. Pecking order is nothing but the order in which multiple options or alternatives are selected or chosen. And there is a perfect pecking order is there, because that matters a lot. Now, when a company can finance its long-term requirements, its fixed investment requirements, then it has significantly these three sources, these three alternatives. First one is internal finance or retained earnings, right? Firms should always prefer to finance their strategic investments through retained earnings or internal finance. If you have been making profits, if you have been accumulating the profits by not declaring dividend or by not giving out the dividends, if you have accumulated the reserve funds, these are called retained earnings. The earnings of the past which you had retained within the company, which you had not shared with the shareholders in the form of dividend. So all those funds are available with you. Now, if you have got any investments to make, first use your retained earnings. This is advisable. This is very much advisable. So that the priority should go to internal finance or retained earnings. Whenever you want to buy something long term, don't go for this one. What is that? Borrowings. Try to see whether your accumulated savings, your retained earnings would be sufficient to meet this requirement. So in the pecking order, when the order in which you have to select, internal finance or retained earnings come first. You have to choose it. Suppose your internal finance is not sufficient, then of course you will have to borrow from outside. And even if this is not sufficient, you cannot borrow indefinitely, is it not? You cannot borrow at any length. It is not possible, right? There is always called this restriction or limitation called debt equity ratio. If you have got 1 rupee of equity, you can borrow 2 rupees of debt. Otherwise, no lender will give you 2 rupees of debt unless you have 1 rupee of equity. So you cannot go on borrowing indefinitely without limit. No, it is not possible. Now you can borrow till certain limits, or the limit permitted by your existing equity. And if that borrowing is not sufficient to finance your requirements, long-term requirements, then you have no other way but to raise funds to equity. You have to make an IPO. You have to raise the equity. You cannot go on depending on or living on borrowed funds. It is not possible. What is true in case of an individual is also true in case of organizations. Your borrowing capacity is limited by your equity. You can borrow 2 rupees only if you have 1 rupee of equity with you. And if you want to borrow more, you will have to bring in more equity. If you want to borrow 4 rupees, you will have to have 2 rupees of equity. Now you have got only 1 rupee of equity. So again, go to the market, issue shares, raise 1 rupee equity, then it will help you borrow another 2 rupees. But in this order, this is the pecking order. This is called the signaling theory. Signaling theory says the order in which the companies should finance their strategic operations, their long-term operations. First, they have to choose the retained earnings. If this is not sufficient, they should go for borrowings. And if this is limited or restricted, then you will have to raise additional funds through equity, or should finance the remaining investment projects through equity only. This is an ideal pecking order, or selecting order, picking order of the sources of finance. So while making strategic financial decisions, you should remember this order. First, put it into your own previous profits, because these profits have been accumulated to meet your rainy days, what is say, difficult days. So use that one. Not sufficient, borrow from outside. Restricted, but still you have got better, very prospective investment opportunities. To finance such investment opportunities, go for equity finance, raise additional equity. That is what this theory says. Optimum capital structure. This you must have studied this in financial management under capital structure theories. Let me make a reference to this. Even though it is difficult to determine the optimum capital structure, on textbook it is possible, hypothetically it is possible, but in the realistic situation, it might not be that easy to strike or find out an optimum capital structure, or the capital structure at which the value of the firm is maximum. is very maximum. So though it is very difficult in the realistic situation to find out an optimum capital structure that is suitable for a company, authors say or the practitioners say it is easy to find an effective capital structure that is a useful. It might not be the best, might not be the theoretically or conceptually, it might not be the best capital structure, but given the circumstances, given your limitations, both computational as well as the administrative or managerial limitations, you can have some meaningful capital structure, which is effective, which is good enough. And how do we work out this, compute this effective capital structure? We have got a list of very useful tools. It is ROI, ROE analysis, return on investment, return on equity analysis. You must have seen this. Leverage analysis, that is financial leverage analysis. Then of course the good old ratio analysis, which you are quite conversant, and comparative analysis. Compare your company with another company, compare your company's balance sheet with another company, see how other companies in your industry, in your sector or finance, you need to be in line with this, with marginal differences. See, another company, suppose you are in steel industry, the steel industry is normally debt heavy, steel industries are debt heavy. If they are 70-30, you cannot expect to have 80-20 debt equity ratio. You need to be 71-29 or in that range only. To make a comparative analysis or use ratio analysis, try to compare your actual status with the standard status available for different analysis. Leverage analysis, what is the degree of leverage, financial leverage you have got, whether it is in line with the industry norms, and of course your own internal ROI and ROE, whether it is above the standards you had fixed. Because the return of investment is, suppose it is 10, you are getting 9%, means your capital structure is not optimal. On the other hand, if you have put a standard of 10% ROI, expect 10% ROI, whereas you are getting 12% ROI, means it is good enough. You can maintain that capital structure of debt equity mix. This is how we use the different tools, and that should be sufficient for the day. I am going to stop for screen sharing at this stage. How many are there? Finally, 31 are there. Less than the previous class. I don't know. People on board of this class. Last time it was 35, now it is 31. Four students. Yes, Shantaram has come in. Who else? Yes, I'm not seeing. Neha Kausar has come in. Anybody else whom I have not named? Is there anybody? Srimant, I told, I think. Yeah, anybody?
Shweta Mere.
Shweta Mere, I have
Yes,
told.
sir.
Who?
But sir, network ಇರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ sir.
Sir.
Okay. Problems will always be there.
Navya sir.
Navya, where is Navya? Yeah, she was missing. Normally she used to report very early. Are you there, Navya? Where are you? I am not able to see your name.
Sir,
Navya.
ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಲೇಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಬಂದ್ರು.
ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ late ಆಗಿ ಬಂದ್ರೆ.
Vikas sir.
Vikas I noted. Rajesh I have noted. Ashwini, Srivani, Shantaram. Vidyashri. Vidyashri I have not noted, right? Neha Kausar I have noted. Oh yes.
Yes, sir.
Adarsh Gowda I have noted. Sharanya, Ashika Jai, Chandrapa, Sriman, Pooja Joshi, Rachna, Deepika, Chaitra, Pradeepa, Madan, Prasanna Kumar, Ganesh Raiker, Pooja Joshi. Then who Pranav, Vidyashri, Bhumika Murthy, Sushmita, she was the first one to report today. Lakshita Imbar, Ashwini Bhatt, Pooja, yes, of course, yeah. Okay, it is 31 today. I am ending this class, this session. Thank you. So keep attending all the classes.
Sir.
Take care.
Thank you, sir.
Okay then. Okay, thank you all.